ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's episode of The Extra Point. I'm your host, Gabby Bates, and joining me tonight will be Anderson and Nick. We have a great show planned out for you today, starting out with your biggest topic of the night, March Madness. We witnessed one of the craziest March Madness tournaments with huge upsets and exciting last-second wins. Also, we will get into some baseball, including your Clemson Tigers, and then get into some MLB, which begins this Sunday. But as always, anytime during the show, feel free to jump in on the action and give us a call to ask a question or even to stay on the line to argue with one of the guys. All right, guys, let's get started. First things first, most of you probably threw your bracket away the first day of the tournament. We've seen so many upsets, exciting last-second wins, and now we're down to the Final Four with Kentucky facing Wisconsin and Michigan State taking on the Duke Blue Devils. Guys, let's get a recap of the tournament and discuss the two big games coming up on Friday.
Thank you, Gabby. It's been a pretty good tournament so far, I'd say.
Good.
It's a way I've had to describe it is that it's been unpredictable how predictable it has been.
Yeah.
There have been upsets, but overall, I mean, the first round especially, there were only 5 seeding upsets in the entire first round, which is insane.
Yeah, but you got to look at those seeds, too. There's a lot of 12 seeds and 13 seeds moving on, too.
We had 2 13s, 2 11s, and a 10.
Right.
First time in, I don't remember the stat, but I want to say it was like the first time in like 50 years that all the 5s beat all the 12s.
Yes, that was the first time in a very long time those guys did it. And one of those, Jesus Christ, can't even talk today. A very long time. It was crazy. You're right with the number of upsets, but just like the magnitude of upsets were huge. I was really hoping Hampton was going to do something, but my God, that wasn't even fair.
No,
that wasn't even fair. That was something.
That's like, yay, I'm in the tournament, and then.
I mean, yeah, welcome to the tournament.
Home.
Now, here, let's go play Kentucky.
Yeah,
all right,
possibly the best team of all time.
One of,
but
I think, the thing with that, though, is I look back, Kentucky doesn't have the star players that they did in the past. You know, they don't have the John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis. Like, when Anthony Davis is for Kentucky, he wasn't nearly, Anthony Davis was like a bigger name in Kentucky than what Karl Anthony Towns and Willie Cauley-Stein was this year. So that part confuses me. Is why is Kentucky so good?
Yeah, this Kentucky team, unlike basically every Kentucky team since Calipari has gotten there, doesn't really have that one star that when they came out of high school, everybody was like, it's the next Michael Jordan.
Right.
I mean, when Anthony Davis came out, everybody was already praising him, and now he's paid off big in the NBA, but I think that Kentucky team might have even been better than this Kentucky team.
You think about it, but then, that Kentucky team definitely had better players, but were they the better Kentucky team? I mean, you look at the Harrison brothers. I mean, they stayed an extra year. I mean,
yes,
they're amazing. Willie Cauley-Stein is stayed a couple extra years. He's doing very well. I mean, they got a lot of veteran leadership on the team that they haven't had necessarily in years past.
True.
And they still have enormous amounts of talent. I mean, I thought Willie Cauley-Stein was going to go declare for the draft after his freshman year, and he didn't. I mean, he's stuck around, he's stuck with it, and it's paying off. I mean, they have a great shot of winning the tournament. But when you have 4 guys over 6'10", and you can sub out 2 Giants and bring 2 more Giants in and have fresh Giants on the court, I mean, you're going to be a very tough team to beat. And it shows that they beat every team handily except Notre Dame, and that was a great game. I thought Notre Dame was going to have it there for a second.
I know, and then unfortunately, I have Kentucky in my Final Four.
Everybody does?
Of course.
I do.
And I didn't want to hurt my bracket, but I was completely rooting for Notre Dame in that game, just to be honest.
Villanova making it all the way.
Villanova?
I thought it was going to be Villanova and Kentucky, honestly.
I struggled with...
But when SMU lost the first day, I just threw my bracket away.
What a heartbreaker for SMU,
I
too.
know, I lost.
Yeah.
To lose in a game.
Yeah, we could talk about that
like,
for a second. I picked SMU to win that game.
UCLA. I picked UCLA, but SMU should have won that game. That is by definition goaltending.
Yes.
But that shot was not going in.
That was the biggest, probably the most controversial moment I'd say in the tournament so far.
It was barely goaltending. It was literally like barely on the rim. And goaltending is if it's over the rim.
And it wasn't like he was just driving the lane and then he put it up and it was a tap in or something like that. No, it was a deep shot. And I didn't have SMU going far, and luckily that matchup really wouldn't have caused too much dismay since UAB stunned Iowa State in the first round.
Oh, don't even get me started.
They just made it to the Sweet 16, coasted in that second game, and then they played Zaga and just got destroyed.
How about
So
NC State's big upset? That really surprised
that I think was probably the biggest upset
would
of the
have to say
tournament.
Can I say something?
me. Yes.
Do you remember 4 or 5 weeks ago when you asked the question, what team was going to make it to the
Oh, boy.
Elite Eight? What surprise team? What team did I say?
Did you say NC State?
I said NC State.
You did.
I did say NC State.
That surprised me. That to me was the biggest upset of the tournament, was the NC State.
The
Yeah.
biggest upset game to me was definitely UAB Iowa State.
That was a heartbreaker.
I'm done picking Iowa State to go far. I'm done. I picked them
I
last
had them in the
year.
Final Four last year,
I
too.
picked them last year, and they had a bunch of injuries on their team, and that amounted, they couldn't do anything with it. And now, Georgia's Niang had a great season. Iowa State was looking good. They were a great offensive team. Monte Morris didn't have a turnover in like 150 or 170 minutes. And he turns the ball over a couple times that game. Niang goes 4 for 15. Niang still had 11 points, but 4 for 15. He missed 11 shots.
Yeah, their shooting was just, they couldn't hit anything for parts of the second half.
The weird thing about that game was Iowa State didn't shoot well. Okay, they were 36.9% from the field and 26 from three-point. But UAB was even worse. UAB was 34.8% from the field and 16.7 from three-point land.
That's what shocked me after the game, because I was watching it and I was like, wow, Iowa State can't hit anything. Well, UAB is not hitting anything either, but they're hitting a little bit more. And then I checked the stats and I was like, how did they shoot better?
Exactly. They didn't. They didn't shoot better. But what UAB did was they had 18 offensive rebounds to Iowa State's 9 and 51 total rebounds to Iowa State's 34.
An undersized team, I believe, too. I believe UAB was undersized pretty well.
Pretty well.
Matchup.
Iowa State had some. Iowa State wasn't a huge team.
True.
But they had some big athletic guys that got on the boards and everything. And for them to be out rebounded by almost 20 rebounds, you're not going to win. Not many teams are going to win games when they get out rebounded by 20 plus rebounds. It's just not going to happen.
And that's embarrassing when you're the winner of what during the regular season was by far the best conference in college basketball. They put in 8 teams, I believe, into the tournament, and I think only 2 or 3 of them made it to the second round.
I think you're right. I'm trying to think.
Oklahoma, Kansas, they made it to the second round. Both of them
did. And
then Iowa State lost in the first round. Baylor lost in the first round.
Which surprised me.
That was a surprise, but not as much of a surprise, I say, as the UAB game. Who else was in there? Oklahoma State lost in the first round.
Oklahoma State.
Texas lost in the first round. And, the other one's probably passing me right now, but I'm pretty sure they only had 2 teams from the 8 make it to the second round.
I thought, to be honest, I picked Baylor to beat Georgia State. I wanted, personally, Georgia State to win because Kevin Ware. But what I didn't realize when I was filling out my bracket was, the relationship between R.J. Hunter and Ron Hunter, the coach.
Yeah.
That was just a great storyline. They won the Sun Belt Conference tournament championship to get a bid in the big game. Ron Hunter tore his his Achilles.
He was on the scooter in the next game.
Scooter, and then R.J. Hunter hit that big shot, and he fell off the scooter. With 3 seconds left. R.J. Hunter was very fun to watch. He had 16 points in the Baylor win, 12 of which came in the last 3 minutes. Watching the game, I didn't really realize who he was.
Yeah.
And I didn't know he had 12 points in the last 3 minutes. That was impressive. Just the whole storyline with Kevin Ware going to Georgia State and everything that he's gone through. The storyline with Ron and R.J. Hunter. It was really fun to watch them. I really wish that they went far. They go in the list with Florida Gulf Coast, Butler a couple years ago, VCU a couple years ago. They were just one of those teams that you just want to win, or you just want them to win because it's a good story.
Absolutely.
They're just the underdog.
And we really lacked a good Cinderella this year. There was I think the lowest seed to make it to the Sweet 16 was UCLA, and of course they had to play UAB in the second round, who was a 13 seed. So it's not like that was really a big deal. I was in my bracket, my biggest Sweet 16 pick was Dayton, and they lost a pretty close one to Oklahoma after putting away Providence pretty well in the first round. And I really thought they were going to take it to that next level because Dayton's a great tournament team every year.
Yeah, Dayton. Dayton really came on last year. I don't like Dayton because I'm an Ohio State fan. Dayton,
of course,
is just outside of Ohio State, but Dayton, they did it again this year. I was like, are you kidding me? They're doing it again. I'm like, oh my God.
They're just one of those teams that when you see them in the bracket, you might want to pick them once or twice because they're going to make some noise, and they did.
I agree. there's teams like Iowa State that you don't want to pick anymore. You know, you don't have any trust in Iowa State.
Exactly.
Georges Dang did say that he wants to come back for another year, though.
I would like to see that. Iowa
I mean,
State could build something stronger. My problem with this year with them was after that tournament run in the Big 12, I thought they looked like the UConn of this year, where it just seemed like coming into their conference tournament, they were good, but they weren't like, they weren't great. And then they make this huge tournament run, and then it looks like they're unbeatable, even though they're winning all these close games. And I was just picking them. I had them in my Final Four, pretty much a heartbreaker. When I think the second game of the day,
the finals.
The second game of the day, I'm pretty sure of the whole tournament, you lose a Final Four team.
I was crying. I was sitting on my couch eating Chinese. You mentioned you had a good point saying that they were replicable to UConn.
Yes.
And here's my team, and so we'll get into our Final Four analysis now.
Yes.
The team that I think is just hands down very, very comparable to last year's UConn. We're, like you said, we're good going into the conference tournament, had a decent conference tournament, and then making this huge run, Michigan State.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can, again, okay, I said that I had a great prediction of NC State going far. I said that Michigan State had a good chance of not making the tournament, and they did, and they did make the tournament. Of course, they were 7th seed. They're better than 7th seed. I mean, Big Ten conference is a hard conference. They didn't do that well this year. I mean, they're 21-11 now.
They probably wouldn't have made the tournament if they didn't have that Big Ten championship.
Oh, I agree.
Run.
That's one of the points I said. I was just like, they can't lose their last 2 games, and they can't be knocked out in the first couple rounds of the Big Ten tournament, and they didn't. They went far. They beat Ohio State. I mean, they went far in that tournament, and now they're going far in this tournament. And I got to say, out of all players, there's a handful of players that I can give like the player of the tournament so far, and Travis Trice is one of them.
Absolutely, me too.
Going back to the UConn comparison, very comparable to Shabazz Napier last year.
He comes up big when you need him.
Yep, Shabazz had
Absolutely.
21.2 points and 4.5 assists in the tournament last year for all 6 games. And Travis Trice, through the 4 games so far, 19.6 points and 4 assists. So, like, he's right there with Shabazz Napier, and we all know how UConn did last year.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's, I mean, Travis Trice, I wouldn't say he's my player of the tournament, but he's going to be the reason why Michigan State goes far. Now, as far as Michigan State and Duke, I don't know.
I'm having a lot of trouble with these Final Four picks for this week. This, I think, has been one of the harder Final Fours to pick in recent memory.
It's because they're all good teams.
They're all very good. And, I mean, you have the Cinderella in Michigan State and then 3 1 seeds, which we don't see more than 2 1 seeds in a Final Four very often. And this year we get 3. Mm-hmm. Just some quick notes about the teams. Kentucky, 17 Final Fours. Wisconsin, 4 Final Fours. Duke, 16 Final Fours. Michigan State, 9 Final Fours. I mean, it's a stacked team. 46 total between the 4 of them. This is a very historic one.
I mean, for how many how many big upset games there were this year, how many teams that we didn't think were going to go far or kind of go far. I mean, it was a loaded Elite Eight.
Absolutely.
And loaded Elite Eights turn out to be loaded Final Fours. And that's what we have. I mean, Michigan State, for being ranked, they're better than the 7th ranked team.
Yes,
I mean,
I agree.
even though they weren't that good in the regular season, they were still better than most of the teams in the tournament. And they honestly got luck of the draw. They should be jumping for joy when they got the 7th seed, because the only team that they really had to play was Virginia.
I think they had the easiest bracket.
They did.
That was the easiest
out of all
bracket,
out of all the Final Fours, I'd say it goes Michigan State, Wisconsin, Kentucky, and Duke. I mean, not actually just looking at these, none of those guys had really that tough of a bracket. I mean, Duke only had 1 game where they won by 6 points, or less than 10 points, and that was when they won by 6 points.
And the score didn't dictate this, but I think the team that had the toughest challenge to get to the Final Four was Wisconsin. They had to play what I think was probably the best 4 seed in the tournament, which was North Carolina, and then they had to play Arizona, who was probably the 3rd best team in the tournament, I think.
Arizona, I mean, watching Arizona play against my Buckeyes, I mean, I thought Ohio State was going to do well. I mean, D'Angelo Russell is an animal.
A stud.
He's a stud, man.
He is a stud.
He's staying. Apparently, all sources say, all the sources say that he's staying, but the professional sources are just saying well, he might go, but all the signs, just what he's been tweeting, what the recruits coming in for this year, what they're tweeting, and have all indication that he's staying. And if he stays, Ohio State's going to be amazing.
Top 10 team next year, I'd say.
But
anyway.
I mean, I agree with you. Wisconsin, I mean, they definitely had a tough bracket, but tougher bracket. But if you look at them, not many teams, in my opinion, had that tough of a bracket. I mean, Wisconsin had a couple games where they won by like 5 or 6. Michigan State had a couple games. I think they lost or won by 5 or 6. Sorry, for Wisconsin. Michigan State, I think, won by 4 was their lowest one. And they won by like 6 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
Duke, as I just said, they only had one game where
they've
they
been
didn't win by
steamrolling
double
everybody
digits.
in their bracket.
And
yeah.
Kentucky as well, only one game to Notre Dame. They only won by 2. I mean, that was a tough game, but only one game that they didn't win by double digits. I mean, Kentucky and Duke have really blown away the competition. Wisconsin's kind of blown away the competition. And then Michigan State's a 7 seed.
So between Michigan State and Duke, who do you think will come out with the victory? I mean, this is my take on it. So this is what I think. I think that when Duke faces Michigan State, that what's going to happen is Duke's going to have to play a really good offensive game. It's going to be an offensive battle, a head-to-head battle. Who's going to come out, who's going to be the winner is the one who comes out best offensively. Also, I think Okafor is going to be great. He doesn't need to miss his free throws. Like I said, he airballed the last one. Awful. He's got to make it. I think Michigan State's going to try to double-team Okafor. I do think that. But I think Duke's going to come out with the victory.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that game. I'll take one bold prediction that I think the game is going to go to overtime. Because I think that I think that Duke thinks that they've earned the right to a championship game, and I think Michigan State is just not going to let up at all. And I still am not entirely sure who I think is going to win this game. I think both of these matchups are extremely close calls. If I were betting, I would probably say Duke because I think this is one of the better Duke teams we've seen in a while. Okafor is a special talent.
Who do you think is going to be the outstanding player for Duke?
For Duke?
Yeah.
In the tournament or overall?
Like in the game on Friday. Who do you think is going to put up the most?
Justice Winslow.
I agree. I wrote down my 4 picks.
Okafor? No, Okafor?
I think Okafor has been great, but Winslow in the tournament has been
amazing.
electric.
I mean, 7 for 12 from downtown.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's impressive. He's had 1 block a game. I mean, for Tyus Jones got the MVP for the region that they were in, but Justice Winslow's been the glue that's sticking them all together.
I completely agree. I think every team has had kind of a surprise breakthrough player in the tournament.
I agree. I mean, Wisconsin, Sam Decker's been good.
Sam Decker has
been unreal.
He has been unreal in this tournament.
21.6 points a game. I'm shooting 60%.
That Arizona game
for a wing wing forward type of guy that's going to step out and shoot it and still shooting 60%. Wow.
I mean, his 3-point shooting in the Arizona game was just lights out. I mean, Frank Kaminsky is of course still playing. He's the best player in the country, college basketball. He's going to win the Player of the Year, I believe.
I think, yeah.
I think he's the best college basketball player this year, but Sam Decker, for me, on Wisconsin, is the MVP of that team for the tournament.
I agree.
These last 2 games, he's been invaluable.
I mean, he's been, I'd say, the most outstanding player in the tournament for a team that's gone this far, at least.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yep.
I mean, shooting 20 or hitting 21, making 21 points a game, shooting 60%. I mean, that's amazing. That's efficient. That's everything I like in a team or in a guy. That's everything everybody likes in a guy.
I think it's going to come down to free throws. Free throws.
I agree with you. I mean, if they can get Kentucky into foul trouble, if Wisconsin can get Kentucky into foul trouble, they'll give them a run for their money. I just don't think Kentucky will lose to Wisconsin. I mean, I said a couple weeks ago Kentucky won't go all the way because they need to learn how to lose. Well, shit. I mean, they won't lose. I mean, they have crushed teams.
They're not going to lose. I mean, you saw the Notre Dame game. I mean, they came back with that final second win. I mean,
Kentucky is just
Kentucky doesn't lose.
Kentucky is just a great team. I mean, I'll bite my words if they go all the way and they go undefeated.
Why would they lose here? They've gotten this far. They're undefeated. Why back down now?
I'll make my
They're
point
gonna put up a tough fight.
on this because in my bracket, I picked Wisconsin to win the whole thing, and I'm going to hold to that here. And it's been getting harder for me every week because I'm seeing Kentucky just steamroll all these teams. But I think the most impressive win of the entire tournament has been Wisconsin over Arizona because, like I said earlier, I think that before the tournament started, the best 3 teams in the tournament were Kentucky, Wisconsin, and Arizona. And I thought it was unfortunate that Arizona and Wisconsin ended up in the same bracket because I thought that those 2 were the only 2 that could knock off Kentucky. So now we finally get to see that matchup in the Final Four with Wisconsin. And I think the key stat for this game is that Wisconsin gives up the fewest fouls in the country. And Kentucky is a team that feeds off of foul trouble because of how big they are.
That's true.
So if Wisconsin can stick to that and not give up too many fouls, not get in the bonus too early, I think it'll be really instrumental to them because in that Notre Dame game, when they got the ball left with 34.6 seconds or whatever, Kentucky got the ball left, I was like, it's over. It doesn't matter what they do because they're just going to draw a foul and shoot the free throws. And that's exactly what happened. And I just don't know if Wisconsin would be the kind of team that would let that up at the end or even put a team in the bonus that far late in the game.
I will say this. I mean, out of all the teams in the tournament, Wisconsin matches up the best with Kentucky's big men. But the thing that scares me is Wisconsin only has 2 big men.
True.
Kentucky has 4. Okay? I mean, now, not all Kentucky's 4 are as good as their starting 2, but, I mean, their 4 is as good as Wisconsin's big men.
Absolutely.
I mean, or better than Wisconsin's big men. But Wisconsin can match up with them. So Wisconsin's got to look for foul trouble. I am going to say this. Kentucky's going to win by 10 points, by double digits. Okay, it's going to be a game, but at the end, Kentucky's just going to pull away. Wisconsin's not going to be able to. Now, for the Michigan State and Duke game, you said Duke, right?
I took Duke, yes, in overtime.
Now, I'm a big fan of Coach K. You know, he's made 3 of the last 7 Final Fours.
16 overall, or he's got 12 overall himself.
He's got 12 overall.
4 championships.
And 8 championship appearances.
Yes.
Okay? Tom Izzo, he won the tournament in 2000. Okay, he only has 1. But he's made 7 of the last 8 Sweet 16 appearances and 4 of the last 7 Final Four appearances.
He's one of the greatest tournament coaches in college basketball
and
history.
What are we in?
We're in the tournament.
So I'm taking Michigan State over
taking
Duke.
Michigan State.
And bold prediction, Michigan State over Kentucky.
Whoa.
Okay? I got to stick to my guns and say Kentucky has to lose. Okay? I will eat my words next week, and I'll eat my words as soon as Kentucky wins it all, which they have a very good chance to. But I wanted a bold prediction. I honestly think Michigan State could do it. I mean, they have the run, or they have the momentum right now.
They feel like one of those teams that's just unbeatable.
And granted, Michigan State and Duke's going to be a great game.
It is.
That can go either way. It's literally 50-50. I have no idea who's going to win. But for the sake of bold predictions, I'm saying Michigan State is going to beat Kentucky in the finals.
All right, and then for my picks, I'll go ahead and give you mine. I already told you, I think Duke over Michigan State in overtime, a very close game. And I am going to stick with Wisconsin over Kentucky. I think Wisconsin's going to win by single digits, probably less than 5. But if Kentucky wins, I agree that they win by double digits. Now, if Kentucky beats Wisconsin, they're winning the championship, I believe, hands down. If Wisconsin wins, they're winning the championship, I believe, hands down. Whoever wins that game will be the title winner. And since I'm picking Wisconsin, I'm taking Wisconsin over the whole thing. And that would make my bracket look amazing, and I would be boosted quite up in the rankings. So that's my picks. Other than that, I just wanted to get who your pick is for the MVP of the tournament so far.
Like I said earlier, Travis Trice is having a great year. Justice Winslow is having a great tournament. Sam Decker is having a great tournament. But one guy on Kentucky
I think we're going to have the same pick.
Now, you don't know my pick yet. I'm just going to give you some stats here. Karl Anthony Towns has 10.1 points a game, 6.6 rebounds a game in the regular season. He's doing very comparable in the tournament. He stepped up a little bit, but 13.6 points a game and 6.3 rebounds in the tournament. Now, that's through 4 games. Now, one of those games was a complete shellacking of West Virginia. I mean, that'll teach freshmen not to tweet at Kentucky, okay?
Oh, that was embarrassing. For a Sweet 16 matchup, that was embarrassing.
Yeah, but in that game, Karl Anthony Towns only played 13 minutes because he didn't have to, first of all.
Of course.
And
benching your starters in a tournament game, that's when you know you're good.
and he had 1 point. So if you took out that game, the West Virginia game, in 3 games now, Karl Anthony Towns is averaging 24.3 minutes a game, 18 points, and 7.7 rebounds. Now that is a stat line. For a big man, that's a stat line, especially for him only playing 24.3 minutes. I mean, you look for him in 35 minutes in a game in an NBA game, I mean, you're going to be looking at this rate, 20 points a game and 10 rebounds. You're looking at a fantastic double-double machine.
And a lot of the other studs on these teams we're talking about are putting in 30-plus minutes a game.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Frank Kaminsky, I don't have his exact numbers, but I'm sure he's putting over 30.
Sam Decker's putting over 30.
Travis Trice he's probably putting up almost 40.
He's probably putting up more than 40. He's playing more. He's playing double minutes for everybody.
Going back to the UConn comparison with both Shabazz and Kemba, both of them were pushing about 40 minutes a game.
Shabazz put 35 in the tournament and was averaging
averaging 35. I'm sure he put 40 in the championship game. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, Trice and Shabazz is a great comparison. But overall, I'd say my pick, I'm going to stick to Sam Decker.
Sam Decker,
21 points a game, 60.4% shooting. That's amazing. That is really awesome for not just. I mean, a post you'll see that efficiency from 60% plus from the field, but not from a slash forward.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
you don't see that very often. So that's very impressive that Sam Decker's doing it. So I'll give Decker my Player of the Year with Travis Trice runner-up.
I completely agree with most of you said. Sam Decker has been, I think, probably the biggest, not the biggest surprise of the tournament. That's ridiculous to say, but I think he's been the biggest pleasantry for these teams. I mean, we knew that Sam Decker was good, but we didn't think he was this good. I mean, for sure. Players show their real colors in the tournament. Sam Decker has been brilliant. He's my second pick for the Player of the Year, with Travis Trice coming in third. I got to stick with Karl Anthony Towns. He has been a beast. And, I mean, during the regular season, he was good too, but I was always much bigger on Willie Cauley-Stein. And now I think Karl Anthony Towns is pushing his draft stock up there. I think he's probably going to be the first Kentucky player to go in the draft. Like you said, he's been averaging over 18 points if you take out the West Virginia game and the Notre Dame game. He was the reason they won. He put up 25 points, I believe, and he was just instrumental down the stretch. So I got to give my Player of the Year vote right now.
Yeah, I mean that's a great pick. I mean, all Justice Winslow, Trice, Tyus Jones,
honorable mentions, Justice
all
Winslow.
Those guys are amazing. I mean, just like Justice Winslow's the glue for Duke, Willie Cauley-Stein's the glue for Kentucky.
Yeah,
I think.
He holds them together.
Or Aaron and Andrew Harrison. I mean, those three guys, the veterans of Kentucky. Justice Winslow, even though he's a freshman, Quinn Cook of Duke. I mean, these guys are big time for these teams, and it's been really fun to watch them.
Indeed. All right, well, kick it back over to you, Gabby.
All right, guys, that was a good talk. Let's get into some baseball. Let's start off with your very own Clemson Tigers. Right now, the Tigers hold a record of 14-13 and 5-7 in the ACC. The Tigers just don't seem to have the spark they need. Earlier in the season, we saw them shut out the Gamecocks, but it seemed to go downhill from there. This past weekend, the Tigers were able to get one win out of the 3-game tournament against Wake Forest. Guys, what do you think the Tigers need to do in order to get that spark they need to turn things around?
Yeah, Big Abby, I think that's a good point about the Tigers this year. Bit of a disappointing start for them so far. Not as good as we've been in recent years. And you do mention the great shutout win over USC, but they're not what they've been in recent years either. They're not the powerhouse that they usually are. 14-13, not the greatest start. 5-7 in the ACC, a little rough. The tournament with Wake Forest, only winning one game. You got to think that there's something that they could be doing to push forward.
The one thing that I think they can do is just mature. I mean, half the team is freshmen. Even though your main starting pitchers are juniors, and your main batter, your highest batters are sophomores and juniors, a lot of other role players are freshmen, and you can tell. I mean, they're barely batting as a team, they're batting 284, but that's because Tyler Krieger's batting 406. And Reed Rallman is batting 340. I mean, but other than that, you got Eli White at 296, and then everybody's 270 and below.
Yeah, and you make a good point about their age. This isn't basketball. You have to be experienced. This is a full-on team sport, just like football. You need experience and chemistry, and that will come with age. And I do think that since most of the team is young, that they could grow over the next couple seasons, and really, in maybe 2 years, we could have something special.
I agree. I mean, we have a very young team. You look, Clemson, outside of football, we don't really get big name guys.
That's true.
You know, when we have young teams in basketball, we're not going to be very good those couple years. You know, we were good last year, not this past year that just ended, but the year before that, because we had a bunch of juniors and we had a couple sophomores and Landry Noco, who was a junior this year. But you know, we had just a veteran team last year, and that's why we made a push. I mean, this year, I don't expect us. We'll be hovering around 500 the whole entire year. Hopefully we can end a couple games above 500. And heck, you know, I mean, there's still plenty of games left. I mean, plenty of ball games to be played. A lot of innings left. So who knows? Maybe they can turn a corner. But the things that I love to see is Crownover is as good as what we thought he was going to be. He has a 1.53 ERA, 47 innings pitched, 47 strikeouts. I mean, he's averaging a 3.3 K to walk ratio, which is all right. I mean, it's not as good as the top pitchers in the draft, what's going to be the draft in college, but it's a very respectable number. He's doing awesome. But other than that, other than Crownover, we don't have a starter that's below 3. I mean, last year we had 2 quality guys. This year we have Crownover doing amazing, but other than that, we don't have any other starting pitchers that are just going to pull their own weight. But another thing is that I want to talk about, the last thing that I want to talk about, I'll kick it back over to you after this, but we're just not a team that comes back. I mean, Zach and I were talking a couple weeks ago that we need to see this comeback ability in Clemson, and we haven't seen it. We're 0-5 when we score less than 2 runs. I mean, it's hard to score 2 runs, but still, 0-5 less than 2 runs. That means the pitchers aren't clutch. We're 4-10 when we score less than 5 runs, which is ridiculous. Okay, that's 5 runs. I mean, 5 runs should be plenty, and we're still 4-10. I mean,
just shows
how many runs do you want us to get?
That shows how lackluster our defense is
exactly.
right now.
I mean, lackluster our defense, our pitching is. But also this, like I just said about comeback ability, when we're trailing after the 5th, we're 0-10. I mean, 5th inning, that's kind of there. Like, all right, it's kind of tough to come back there. But then it gets down when we're trailing after the 3rd inning, we're 0-9. And then when we're trailing after the 2nd inning, we're 0-6. I mean, that's tough. I mean, when we're losing, going into the 3rd inning, we're going to lose that ball game every single time. Okay?
Comeback ability, to borrow a phrase that doesn't exist, is extremely important in baseball, probably more than any other sport.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's no clock. You have all the time in the world
yeah.
to come back. And if we can't even come back after 1 inning, I mean, that's just...
0-6 after trailing going into the 3rd inning. That's ridiculous. And you're 100% right. There is no clock. The thing I love about baseball, and I love baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport to watch. I mean, basketball and football are up there, obviously. But baseball, I mean, the thing is it can be the 9th inning, and your team can be up by 1 run, your team can be up by 10 runs. But it's the same no matter what. You can't stall the clock. You have to throw it over you have to throw it in that tiny zone where that's the hitter's swing. That's the hitter's wheelhouse. Okay, that's the batter's wheelhouse. You have to throw it in that zone to get the guy out. And that's the thing I love about baseball is you have to give the other guy their fair chance every single pitch.
That is a great point.
Every single pitch.
Unlike football, where you can take a knee or run the clock out, in basketball,
you can
fouling.
Stall. Yep.
I mean, it is great that baseball is a sport where you have to play until the end if you want to win. You can't just stop when you're up by 5 innings or 5 runs, but you just got to keep going.
And even with 2 outs, like 2 outs in an inning, there's still chances that you can make runs.
They could score 10 runs in that 1 out.
Exactly, and that's why I just love baseball. But yeah, I mean, Clemson comeback ability is huge. Defense we have a 96.4% fielding percentage. It's all right. I mean, you can't be perfect. I mean, it's very hard to have a perfect fielding percentage. It's impossible, really. You're going to make errors, you're going to make mistakes, but you got to recover from those mistakes, and clearly we're not doing that.
Absolutely. Errors are just a part of the game. If you can't recover, though, then it's not becoming as much of a part of the game as just you beating yourself constantly. And that's what Clemson seems to be doing a lot of the time.
And another thing that you just mentioned, another reason why I love baseball, is because errors are part of the game. Baseball is a game of failure. You think about it, the best hitters in not only college but MLB will bat 310. 333. We'll do 333 for an easy number. What does 333 mean? You're failing 2 out of 3 times.
You're only hitting 33%.
Exactly. You're failing 66.7% of the time, and that's what I love most about baseball is you're failing, but you're still. Exactly. It's how do you handle that failure and everything.
Exactly. I mean, like a quarterback, if he's throwing 33.3%,
that's awful.
He's on the bench. He's getting fired.
That's Cole Stout.
If you're in the NBA and you're shooting 33.3%, you'll be lucky if you're staying on the bench. I mean. In baseball, that's a great number because it is so much more random, it seems.
Great hitters will bat 280. Great hitters will bat 290. If you're shooting 280 and 28% and 29% from the floor in basketball, if you're throwing if you're completing 28 out of 28 or 29% of the passes, that's not good. But baseball, that's good. So, yeah, those are the things that Clemson needs to work on. They got, like I said, a lot of season left. So, hopefully, maybe they can turn around and give us a nice little surprise.
Yep.
Gabby?
All right, guys, we're going to continue to talk about baseball. Opening day for the MLB starts up this Sunday. I know most of you are anxious about this upcoming season. Guys, what are some teams to look out for opening day for the 2015 season, and maybe some big names for these teams?
Yeah, we were right. Spring training's finally wrapped up, and we're only a couple days left until the season, which is exciting. And, of course, March is always an exciting month because of college basketball, and I personally think it's the most exciting postseason in all of sports.
Oh, definitely.
But March is also the only month, it's one of the only months in the year where there's really only one sport going on.
Yeah, and that's college basketball.
Yeah, NBA as well, but just basketball in general is really the only sport that's on, yeah. So now we're finally getting into another sport with baseball, and what do you think about the season coming up?
Well, I have one team that I really just like on paper. That's not a big name team. Obviously, I like the Dodgers.
Of course.
The Red Sox, I'm not too sold on the Red Sox yet, but
That whole division, I think, is still kind of up in the air right now.
Oh yeah, the AL East. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with them.
Which formerly was the best division in baseball for a very long time.
As long as you really know, I mean, every year is either Boston or Yankee. Boston, New York, Boston, New York. Tampa Bay threw their hat in the mix. Toronto got in there once in a while when they had Roy Halladay back in the day. Now, I mean, then
the Orioles now.
I mean, they've been thrown around. And now the Orioles lost a bunch of key pieces over the offseason. The Yankees are old as dust.
I mean, every year with the Yankees, it's just toss a coin. You don't know.
I mean,
they build a whole new team every offseason, and then it's just, I don't know if they're going to be good or not. Just toss a coin and see what happens.
Is A-Rod going to be good? He's having a decent spring.
I hope he gets fired.
You think he'll be able to jump back?
To do what?
You think he'll be able to jump back and get into the
You asked this question a couple of weeks ago. I said no. I'm still going to say no. I got to see it to believe it. Spring is a very small indicator of what it's going to be like in the season.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, what, 7 months away from the playoffs? I mean,
oh yeah,
it's the longest season in professional sports.
Baseball's a long season.
So, I mean, what a team does in April was nothing. That's basically just warm-ups.
Exactly.
A-Rod, I hope he's done soon. This might be kind of a bold statement, but I kind of think when he leaves, it'll be good for baseball. He keeps bringing controversy, and nobody seems to like him, especially Yankee fans. I mean, I'll say I'm a Yankee fan, and I hate A-Rod.
Yeah,
he's like one of my least favorite Yankee players, and I just want him gone. I mean, he doesn't play well. He hasn't played well in a long time, and he's just sucking up cap space. He gets paid an absurd amount for what he does.
Well, I mean, you look back 5-10 years ago, he was
sure.
amazing.
I mean, he's probably a top 10 hitter of all time, but
if he didn't get, caught with PD.
Well, top 10, I'm forgetting I'm dealing with baseball. It's a lot more in baseball. Maybe top 30.
That's true. I mean,
but he's top 10 in home runs, I believe.
A-Rod is just was a very good hitter. He just hasn't done anything recently. But you're right. I mean, A-Rod is bad. I wouldn't say like awful for the sport. He's not. I mean, he's just not good for it. I mean, he just brings just bad attention. When you think about A-Rod, you think about tainted players. You think about the game being tainted and everything like that. And that's just not good for. That's
just another player with an asterisk next to his name in the record books, and he's like 5th or 4th on the home run list, but I mean, just another steroid user like Barry Bonds, who, I don't know how you feel, but I don't consider him to be the home run king. But
I do. I mean, personally, what Barry Bonds did for the game, he changed the game. When he never got caught technically. I mean, who can say? But what he did was he was so big in the game. Like A-Rod, it was big, but nobody really liked A-Rod. Nobody liked A-Rod really that much in the Texans. The Rangers, geez. Nobody liked him that much on the Rangers. Houston Texans, the football team, if he played football. I mean, he roided that much, maybe he could play football. Anyway, but nobody liked him when he was on the Rangers that much. Nobody liked him when he was on the Yankees. Some people liked him when he was with the Mariners when he first started off. But A-Rod has never been like Barry Bonds was loved with the Pirates.
He was the last player I'd say to be a superstar. In baseball. Because baseball doesn't have... I mean, like, people that don't even watch basketball, they still like LeBron. They know who he is.
They know who he is. There's 3 people.
It's like that Vine when you ask your girlfriend who her favorite basketball player is, and she says,
There's
LeBron James.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it is.
I'll give you, not 3 people, I'll give you 5 people who I think changed the game after Barry Bonds, and who will change the game. All right, so I will say, I'll give you three players right now, then 2 players who just recently retired. So Clayton Kershaw. Okay, yeah. He's going to be one of the best pitchers of all time.
Best pitcher in the game right now, I'd say.
Ridiculous. If only he could do it in the postseason. Mike Trout, and then Yasiel Puig. What Yasiel Puig does, he's not nearly stat-wise as good as what Mike Trout has been, but what Yasiel Puig brings, like the atmosphere, the showboating, just the energy that Yasiel Puig brings, he's changing the game slowly but surely, kind of like
what Tiger Woods did. Which is something what Barry Bonds did. Barry Bonds had that showmanship, and he brought that energy.
They got that just awesome, cool, bat flips going on. But the 2 players that I say changed the game after Barry Bonds, were just awesome, down-to-earth guys that were both Yankees, was one Mariano Rivera.
And then Jeter.
Jeter,
yeah. I mean, as a Yankee fan, Derek Jeter's probably my favorite baseball player of all time.
I mean, you can't... when you think... I hate the Yankees. If you're not a Yankees fan, you hate the Yankees.
That's how it is, yeah.
But you can't hate Derek Jeter. It's hard to like
Even
him.
Red Sox fans, they will admit that they like him. They respect him.
It is extremely hard to like Derek Jeter strictly because he was wearing pinstripes for his whole career. But you don't hate him. You respect him. You respect the hell out of him. And Derek Jeter, I mean, he wasn't the best defensive shortstop. He was one of the best hitting shortstops ever. And he's going to be one of the best shortstops ever in the game. And he changed the game. The sad thing is, I think personally, he's one of the last true professionals of the game.
He was such a stand-up guy. Yep. I mean, you never suspect that he was what is the abbreviation? I can't remember. Steroids. PEDs. Yeah. I couldn't think of that. And Mario Rivera was pretty much the same way.
I mean, they're just down to earth. I mean, they didn't look for the limelight. Yeah, they had the limelight because they're in New York, but these guys are just awesome guys. And
the complete opposite of Alex Rodriguez.
It's going to be really weird seeing New York without Jeter.
Yeah, it is. It is going to be different. That's going to be a really big transition for them this year. Even though, I mean, in his later years, he was still good, but he wasn't he wasn't, I mean, he was older, but he wasn't the reason that they won the championship in 2009 and or 2010, whichever year it was. But he was the glue that held the team together. He was the captain, now they're missing that.
And I mean, you're right. I mean, it's going to be who's the captain of New York. I mean, like you said earlier, that whole entire division's up for grabs. The one, like I said, I'm a fan of bold predictions tonight. So I made this prediction just saying a surprise team a couple weeks ago. I'm now going to take them to win the NL East, and that is the Miami Marlins. The Washington Nationals are in the NL East, and they have probably one of the best staffs, pitching rotations of all time.
Definitely the best this year.
But what they don't have,
no doubt.
What they don't have is a good bullpen and a shaky offense. I mean, they got Bryce Harper and they got a couple pieces, but their offense is going to be shaky.
And a star-studded rotation doesn't always equal championships. Look at the Red Sox and the Phillies of a couple years ago when they would just buy up all the aces from across the league, and then they didn't win the title.
The Phillies did win one year.
Yeah, but this was, I believe, 2 years after that, when they really loaded up. Their pitching rotation, and they didn't end up winning the title.
Pitching will win you a lot of games and win you a lot of championships, but you got to have defense and you got to have
a good bullpen.
You got to have a good bullpen because your pitchers can't go 9 innings every game. But that's why I think the Marlins are going to win the division, 1 because it's a bold prediction, and 2 because they're going to hang around. They're going to be around 500, just above 500 up until All-Star break. And then they get this guy named Jose Fernandez back, who was the Rookie of the Year 2 years ago, had a 2.4 ERA before he got injured last year, and they're just going to click from there, and they're going to be dynamic. I mean, they have a good rotation. They have Jose Fernandez, Henderson Alvarez, Matt Latos. They're going to have, Dan Herron. They're going to have a good team. They have D. Gordon, Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton. Oh, my God, Giancarlo Stanton is just...
He's out of this world.
He is. So are the balls that he hits are out of this world. And then you got Marcell Ozuna, who's a power threat. You go up and down the team. They have defense with Adeiny Hechavarria. He's coming along. That team is going to be a quiet, good team. And that's my bold prediction for the NL East. My bold prediction for the AL. It's very interesting. I'm not taking Seattle. A lot of people are taking Seattle because of the off season they had.
Yep.
I'm going to take another AL East team, and that's going to be, and this isn't for the World Series, this is just for really good teams.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take the Toronto Blue Jays.
I can see that, yeah. I think
they bought the house a couple off seasons ago, and I think it's their time. They got Josh Donaldson, who's a much better upgrade over Brett Lawrie. And I think it's going to be Toronto Blue Jays' year. You look at that division; it's weak, and Toronto Blue Jays are going to take advantage of that. So I think the Blue Jays are going to come out of the East, in the AL East, and the Marlins are going to come out of the NL East.
They're really benefiting from that shaky AL East this year. Just a couple of the teams I think that have shot at the title. The Nationals, obviously. We all know how great they're going to be. I like the Cardinals a lot this year.
Cardinals.
Again.
Yep.
They've been great the last couple of years. And then
they got Jason Hayward from the Braves. Hayward's a quality player that didn't have that much protection last year.
Yeah, great
now
player.
He's going to be in a much better lineup, in my opinion, and they have the staff to back it up as well.
And then I wouldn't say it's much of a surprise pick, I guess, but I really like the Pirates this year, too.
I honestly think that is a surprise pick personally because the Pirates had a great year last year, and I'm personally not too high on them. I mean, the NL Central is ridiculously tough.
It is.
But
it's one of the
Pirates over the Cardinals, and especially the Cubs. I mean, Chris Bryant's going to be up in April 13th because just for financial reasons, which kind of sucks for Cubs fans because you're not going to be able to see him on opening day. But Chris Bryant's going to be up. I mean, they're going to be young. They're going to be awesome to watch. The Cubs, the Cardinals, the Reds are still hanging around in there. The Pirates, you got the Brewers. I mean, that
is probably the most stacked division in baseball.
Most stacked division in sports, I think.
That could be very possible.
That's a bold statement. I mean, especially with in football, you got the Giants, the Seahawks, but I mean the Giants have come, or 49ers, my God. I think it's San Francisco Giants if they play football. San Francisco 49ers and the Seahawks.
The 49ers fell off, and the Rams are still just,
the Rams are hanging in there. Arizona Cardinals have come up, though.
And then the Seahawks are amazing.
The Seahawks, they're very well.
Yeah, I think that the Cardinals are going to take that division I'm going to say with ease. I'm going to say they're going to have a couple games on it, and then I think that the Pirates are going to surprise the Cubs a little bit and come in second to snag the wild card spot.
That's very nice. So okay, so we'll end with MLB predictions with this. Give me your NL, your complete NL, your NL winners for each division, and then the 2 wild cards, and then your AL wild cards and division winners, and then give me we'll skip the playoffs, like the matchups and everything, and then give me who you got in the World Series and the winner
World
of that.
Series. Okay. Well, let's start with the NL East. And I like what you had to say about the NL East. I think that I'm probably going to have to go with the same pick as you there.
Marlins?
The Marlins. Yeah, I actually do really like them. And then the NL Central, I just said the Cardinals. I'm drawing a blank right now.
NL West?
Yeah, NL West.
Dodgers, Giants.
I like the Dodgers. I like the Giants.
You got the Padres.
I have a bit of a tough pick between those two. I'm going to say, I know everybody's really high on the Dodgers this season, but I'm going to go with the Giants again because I think that they've been great. I mean, obviously, they've been probably one of the best teams over the past...
Best coach teams. I mean, Bruce
best 5 teams, especially past decade. Probably one of the best teams of the decade.
Although it is an odd year. They only win on even years. So
that is true, but there is a first time for everything. So
that's right. That is also true too. And then
AL East. Oh man, that's hard. Because I mean, there's no clear cut team. And you said the Blue Jays, so I'm not going to say the Blue Jays. I'm going to have to say that the Orioles don't repeat like they did last year. I think that they're going to not stumble, but not be as good. And as much as it kills me to say this as a Yankees fan, but I got to go with the Red Sox. I think that they're going to take the division. They don't always have to. They don't always have to have a huge offseason to be good. They're one of the quieter ones that they kind of build up through the season. I think they're going to struggle at first and then build up through the season. The AL Central. I don't know. Some of these are tough picks for me. You say Indians?
No, I didn't. The AL Central is going to be tough this year too.
It is. I mean, the Central in both conferences it's probably the 2 toughest on both sides. The Central. I don't even know who do you have in the AL Central.
I got the Indians. I mean, that's a little bit of
taking the Indians. They were good last year. They were
85-77. I mean, they have the same core guys coming up. Francisco Lindor's hopefully, knock on wood, going to be up in June, July. So we've been loving him ever since we drafted him 8th overall in 2011. So he's going to be up. So I'm taking the Indians, but you got the Royals hanging around there. You got the White Sox who had a pretty good offseason. You have the Tigers who are always good with as long as Miguel Cabrera is going to be on that team. So
yeah, I like a lot of those teams, and I do think the Indians could push for a wild card spot, but I still think the Royals are going to take the division pretty handily. They were great last year, obviously, and I think that there's just too much power on that team for any other team in the division to stop them. So that's my Central pick. And then for the AL, the bottom. Who we going there?
The West?
Who are you taking there in the AL West?
I mean, Rangers aren't going to be nearly as good. Yu Darvish is going to be out for the whole entire 2015 season, which is a shame. So it's really down to Seahawks, A's, and...
Not the Seahawks.
Why am I mixing up teams? Seattle Mariners.
Mariners.
Okay. I mean, hey, Russell Wilson plays baseball. Okay, I'm not sure. He got drafted by the Rangers. So.
He did.
Okay, they got some guys. What the hell is going on? All right, they got the Mariners. You got the Athletics, You got and you got the Angels are your main teams coming out of the West.
I like the A's every year. I pick them as like a kind of a surprise pick most season, and then it never works out for me. I think the Angels are probably the safe pick, in my opinion. I don't know if you'd agree with that or not. The Mariners are good too, but I think the Angels are the safe pick.
All right, I'll go for my 6 division winners. I'll go real fast, so that way if I'm wrong, it's gonna be hard for people to know. AL West, you got the A's. The A's are just too good. They play money ball. They're not going to go far in the playoffs, but I got the A's in the AL West. You got the Indians in the Central. You got the Blue Jays in the East. And then for the NL, you got the Marlins in the East. You got I want the Cubs to be in the Central, but you got the Cardinals in the Central, and then you got the Dodgers in the West. And then for the wild cards, you got the Pirates, and you got the I don't want to say Padres because I don't think they'll be that good, but I'll say Giants. Actually, no, I'll take that back. I'm going to say Cubs and Pirates. We're going to have 2 wild cards from the Central. And then, actually, I'm going to take that back once again. You're going to have the Pirates, and you're going to have the Nationals as wild cards. Nationals or Marlins.
Nationals wild card.
For the NL, then the AL, you're going to have the Mariners, and you're going to have the Tigers as wild cards for them. And the World Series is going to be, and this is just a little bit of a fan. I'm going to say the Indians and Dodgers winning. Indians will not win. The Dodgers will. It's the Dodgers' year to finally win one. Clayton Kershaw needs to have a ring when it's all said and done, and this is going to be his year.
Yeah, I think that's a good championship pick. For my championship game, I'm just going to throw out Nationals against. Let me think. I just had it. Man, it's tough. The AL is much more of a toss-up than the NL.
We need theme music in here.
We do need some theme music, don't we? And yeah, I'm gonna take the Nationals from the NL to come out, and I think that that AL is tough. I'm gonna take the
Tigers, Angels, Orioles, Royals, Indians.
I'm not taking the Indians. I'm going to go bold, and I'm going to take
Mariners,
the Nationals against the Athletics.
Athletics. Hey.
And I'm going to take the Nationals to win.
Okay, I was going to say, because Moneyball doesn't win championships. It's been proven.
Thank you for the movie, Brad Pitt.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. Tune in next Wednesday at 8 to get on the action. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
I'm allowed to say hell. Don't tell me what I can and can't say.